Okay, fine. So in the last class, right, we started talking about Indian logic, and we discussed a few things related to source of knowledge. As in the last class, we talked about six, uh, right? Here you can have a look before we take up something else. Fine. As per the Indian philosophy, there are six different means of or source of getting right knowledge, and some of them we discussed in the last class. These six, your first one is Pratyaksh Pramana, in which we discuss how knowledge can be gained through our perception, through our uh, perception, what we call our sense organ, like touch, smell, by watching something, like these. When we get knowledge through these means, that is categorized as Pratyaksh Pramanas. And we also talked about uh, the next kind of Pramanas, Anumana, which is called inference, when knowledge is not gained directly through our sense organ senses, right? Then it is called Anumana, fine, which is knowledge which comes after your perception. When you know something, right, based on that knowledge you try to derive something, which is called Anumana Pramana. So we talked about this one, and then third kind of Pramana was your Upamana, which is simply comparison. When we compare one situation with another situation, right, and gain some knowledge out of it, this comes under category of an Upamana Pramana. So under this category, we also discuss some examples, like seeing some monkey in your village, or in some town, and then going to your some national park, or similar such kind of things, and seeing the similar animal doing the similar thing that you saw your monkey doing in your village, or in some town, right? Then you tend to associate your earlier knowledge, or try to take advantage of your earlier knowledge, find to categorize the animal which is acting like the one you saw earlier as monkey. Fine. This is simply comparison, nothing else. Then fourth type of pramana is your arthpatti. That is simply assumption. When you assume something, right, you can talk about certain kind of stuff. Like if I assume somebody does not eat during the day, then we tend to say the guy eats only at night, right? So the arthpatti is nothing. It is presumption, supposition. Means we all know no one can survive without having food, and if someone says that he or she does not eat during day, right, we are very much entitled to assume that he or she eats at night. So when we gain knowledge, find through this mean, through this source, right, this is called your arthpatti. Means you can also call it implication, assumption, presumption, right? But they have to be valid. It's not like you assume anything. If somebody, like if I talk about some object, like a stone, right, we say that stone does not eat during day. You can't assume that stone eats at night, because this stone does not require anything to survive. So simply your assumption and supposition or presumption have to be valid one, have to be like consistent with our understanding of this universe, this like planet, not at variance of it. So we had discussed these four kind of pramanas, right? I would recall again. Your first one is pratyaksh, that you could see, that you could sense, that you could touch, right? And the second one is uh, your inference, right? When you derive some inference based on your earlier knowledge, right? That is called your inference, second kind of pramanas. And third is your upmana, which is simply comparison, and the fourth is arthpatti. Now I'll take the next thing. This is completely new, right? We means we just did not talk about this kind of pramana in the earlier class. It
So
is,
Prakash
yeah,
sir,
yeah.
just one question.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, I know, last time you had covered these 3, 4,
Right.
types of Indian logic,
Right.
right? Why don't we do one thing? Why don't we ask the audience, right, how much they remember from that? And let's say anybody who volunteers to say, sir, anybody can say, sir, I want to explain. So you can ask like these 3, 4 pramanas, and whoever says, I would like to explain, we can unmute that person, and that person can, we can do a flip class, meaning the person can
Okay.
just tell us what is his or her understanding.
Okay. So now since one of the most important pramana is Anuman, so can somebody explain it and give me one example?
Can anybody write in the chat? Whoever wants to explain, I can unmute the person, and the person can explain his or her understanding or give an example. Okay. Dani, Nishant. Okay. Nishant, can I make you? Okay, let me just. Okay. So Prakash sir, I'll allow Nishant to talk. Nishant, you're unmute now. Do you want to explain? Nishant, we can't hear you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Hi, Nishant. We can hear you now.
Yeah. Hi, Nishan.
Yes, sir. Actually, this Anumana is inference. It means we are inferring something based on what we know already. For example, we are seeing some smoke from somewhere, from house or mountain. We are
Yeah.
inferring as fire. This
Y-
what we know. We are inferring something new based on what we know already. This is inference, sir.
Yeah,
Anumana.
yeah, that's really great, right? He explained it very concisely, and gave a very good example also. This is a very important example because most of the, especially Nyaya theory, find use this example to explain lots of things. Fine, we will take up later. So, really great, Nissan.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Thanks, Nishant. Anybody else uh, who would like to, Prakash, any other
Yeah,
pramanas,
yeah,
anything
yeah,
you,
yeah. Upman means, can someone explain Upman and give one example?
anybody who wants to explain Upman? Anybody remembers Upman or nobody remembers?
Yeah,
Kanchan is saying yes.
yeah.
Okay, yes, Kanchan. Let me just. Okay, great. Okay, I'll allow you to talk, Kanchan. I'll unmute you now.
Okay, hello everyone.
Hi, good evening, Kanchan. We can hear
Yeah,
you.
hi, Kanchan.
So Upman is basically, it is based on our thoughts, knowledge deserved from similarity, similarity between two two things or two people, A and B.
Y-
Up plus man, up means similarity and man means knowledge. As praman means knowledge, praman is also two types, valid and invalid.
Yeah, yeah. That's really great. Can you give us one example so that others could also comprehend it?
As we do analogous
Yeah, yeah.
reasoning, we compare two things. All the examples related to that are comes under Upman.
Okay. That's really
Okay,
great.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Can somebody tell me how many kinds of your direct knowledge, or what you call pratyaksh knowledge, means in how many part they are divided, or what how many categories are there? Pratyaksh means, I hope all you know what pratyaksh means, translates into English. That is perception. So in how many categories, fine, it is divided? Yeah, somebody, yeah, yeah, that's brilliant. That most of you know there are two categories of pratyaksh pramanas: direct and indirect. See, it seems they almost get everything what is explained.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I mean that's the expectation. See, guys, a topic like this, no, is very theoretical, right? So what happens in these topics, no, it's not, I mean, as engaging as probably a logical reasoning puzzle that you're doing. because that's more fun, and you're actually doing. So what happens is sometimes in things like these concepts, it's very important for us to engage, and that's why we are trying to do a little bit of flip class. And by the way, uh, I hope we know that there are various ways how people remember. People forget things very easily, but if you do something, or if we, let's say, ask a student to explain something, do you know this has the highest chance of retention? So that means when you are as professors or assistant professors also taking a class, if you actually ask a student to come and do a flip class, and the student actually teaches, that's the best way. Research says that's the best way how you remember things. So that's why we thought a little bit of flip class. But go ahead, Prakash. I think they are good, they are getting it. Yeah.
Yeah, that great. So let's move to next kind of praman, that is your anuplabdhi. Sometimes when we I'll give you example after that, coming to other stuff. When I see someone's some house like empty for some time, we notice that nobody comes uh, out of the house, nobody goes inside, right? If we see it for some time, then we tend to assume that house is empty, like no one lives there, or those who are living fine, they have left the house, right? That is called anuplabdhi, when something is not available, right? And we want to derive something out of that, right? That kind of knowledge is called anuplabdhi praman. There could be another example. When I see a glass, there is nothing in the glass, then I tend to say the glass is empty. On what basis I say? Because there is nothing inside the glass. When I see a class and there is no student, right, I say the class is empty. So sometimes unavailability of something also, right, gives some understanding to conclude something. When knowledge comes through this source, right, this is called anuplabdhi praman. I hope everybody got it. Simply when you gain knowledge through unavailability of something, that is called anuplabdhi praman, right? So here the negative facts are cognized by non-apprehension or unavailability. That is important, right? Negative facts are like chosen to reach to certain conclusion, right? That is what is called anuplabdhi praman. Hope everyone understood it. So let's move to the last and one of the more important source of knowledge, right? We talked about six, four we had covered in the last class, right? One we have covered now. So let's move to the last kind of uh, your praman, right? So this is one of the simplest and I think in today's time most extensive kind of praman that through which we get knowledge. This is also called sabd praman or through verbal
So
testimony.
Prakash,
Yeah.
just one second. In the chat, some people are saying, "Can you give one more example?" And the previous one was not clear. Can you explain
Okay.
that again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as I told you, when you see a glass which has nothing, you tend to say the glass is empty. Means there is nothing available in the glass, right? That uh, gives you like confidence to conclude that the glass is empty. When you see a class room where there is no student, right? You tend to say that class is empty. Similarly, when as I gave you another example, when you see your neighbor's house and notice for some time that no one comes out or goes inside the house, you tend to say that like no one lives there. So when you get some knowledge based on unavailability of something, that is called anuplabdhi. Hope it's clear now. Yeah, can you confirm, did you get it? Yeah, that's great. So now the last kind of pramana, right, is sabda, basically words or verbal testimony. Most of the knowledge in today's time that we get, that it is through sabda praman, whether it's your newspaper or it's your magazine or something that you like get on some website, right? All these forms of knowledge comes under your sub or pramanas. And we have to understand, means whoever says something right or write something, we can't take it as a right knowledge. There has to be right source of it. When some news channel when some newspaper presents something, right, based on its credibility, we take it seriously or non seriously. If somebody just throws anything, right, we are not going to take seriously if their credibility is not good, right? So the first important element in Sabd Praman is source of knowledge, from where it is coming, right? That has to be valid. That must have some credibility. If it does not have any credibility, like, you can't take that information seriously. In earlier time, like especially in BCs, your Veda was considered to be a very prominent source of knowledge under this category. Whatever like somebody said, uh, based on what was available there through writing or through through other means, right, those were considered to be valid source of knowledge. But later on, people rejected this kind of theory, because they could not check, like, who the thing that was said about or wrote about your Vedas. Fine, we could not trace their source, like who did that, right? On what basis, like, those knowledge should be taken seriously. So the another element that was added to it was context, like in what context it is said. When we take let's say context of science, and when somebody writes something, we all have ability to verify it, right? So context became very important, just apart from source in later time, right? So Praman, sub, now we know what is sub, right? Everything that comes through text. There could be hundreds of such means, right? Through which we get knowledge. Second, your source, and third is your context. These, like, last two are very important things, source and context, right? They are taken pretty seriously when it comes to sub pramanas, right? So that's all we have around this sub pramanas. I hope most of you understand instinctively, because you get tons of knowledge through this mean only, right? Every knowledge that you get does not come from other sources. Most of them come from this only. So hope you all got it. If anyone has any doubt about this, like, just write so that I can explain further. Yeah, anyone has any doubt? Yeah, anyone? If you have understood it, right? Yes. Okay, somebody said not understood. So let
No,
me
I think he said understood. Nishant, you meant understood or not understood? I think got it. He
Okay,
said no
okay.
doubt, basically. No doubt understood.
Okay,
It's like the
okay.
Indian nod, no? Sometimes when we do shake our head, like we're like, the whites don't understand whether we are saying understood or not.
So
Okay, great.
so
Just
we
on a
have
light
covered
note.
all six Brahman by now, right? We can take a few questions to understand, to get to know how much we have understood. So let's take a few questions. So this is the first question. Take a few seconds to answer this question and write your answer in the comment, or in chat box. It seems uh, they just want to scream that I know it. Like, everyone has got the right answer.
Excellent.
So as we discussed a while back,
Guys, a lot of people who are not responding or who are usually quiet in the class. So I'm just saying that we assume that you understood. If you've not understood, please feel free to share in the chat. Okay.
So as we discuss, anuplabdhi or non-apprehension is the knowledge that comes from negative fact, unavailability of something. So the moment you know this, like you can answer this question pretty easily. Like negative facts gives us certain kind of knowledge, and that kind of knowledge comes under anuplabdhi or non-apprehension. Let's take another example. Be pretty careful while answering this question, right? Sometimes you have knowledge, but what happens, instead of apply, like looking at application part, you only remember facts. So sometimes also like pay some emphasis to application also. Then if you apply this aspect, like your understanding does not give only not understanding of facts, it also gives other other kind of knowledge, or the understanding that can be applied in various contexts. So some of you have got it right. Yes, the correct answer is option C. Let's look at the question. Question is saying, which of the following statements is or true in the context of Arthpatti, right? So Arthpatti, we know it pretty well. It's based on assumption. When something right is given, and we have a scope to assume something else. As I discussed, if I don't eat during day, this is what I claim, then you can assume, or you can presume that I always eat at night, right? So this is what Arthpatti like is known as. So let's look at the first statement. The first statement says, is an independent source of knowledge? Yeah, definitely. As we have discussed, there are 6 independent source of knowledge, and they all are independent from each other, right? And these are your pratyaks, your uh, uh, anuman, praman, arthpatti, then anuplabdhi, sabda. These are 6 independent source of knowledge. So first statement is true. It is saying this is an independent source of knowledge. Yes, so first statement is true. Now let's come to the next one. It is not a part of anuman and sabda. Definitely, if I'm independent or independent from something, which means I'm not part of that, right? All these are separate entities. These are 6 different entities, right? Does not one is not part of any other entity. There could be like some understanding, like some source of knowledge that gets transferred, but they are taken independently. They are not part of anything. So second statement is also true. So thereby your option C is the correct answer. If anyone has any doubt, you can raise your doubt. Somebody wrote negative fact. Arthpatti is not about negative fact, it's anuplabdhi. Right? Just remember these names. I think we have discussed enough.
That was for previous question that you had asked.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Kanchan, you got B as the correct answer. Why it is so? In your understanding, it is not an independent source of knowledge. This is what you're telling. Now C got it right. Yeah, it's C. If anyone has any doubt, right, we can discuss that. After that, we would move to the next question. Yeah, somebody, Ashish, can you answer this question? Somebody is asking, sir, is part 1 of this Indian logic class available on YouTube? I am new to this class.
Yes, guys, it's available. Last to last class, I mean, last Saturday, Prakash sir had covered square of opposition and first part of Indian logic. It's available on the our YouTube channel.
No, somebody wrote, I thought it's knowledge gained through seeing the relation. No, when you get knowledge seeing a relation, that is called your upman. It does not call, it is not known as arthpatti. So just be careful about the 6 terms that are used. Yeah, so let's move to the next question. I hope everybody understood arthpatti pretty well, and they can answer such question in future easily. Yeah, this is the next question. Take a few seconds to understand question before giving your answer. Yeah, Jaspreet Singh says his answer is A. Ankit's answer is also A. Renu's answer is also A. Does anyone have any other answer? Or now you are, it's, it seems everyone has got answer A. Yeah, Vidya, can you explain why not option C? Why statement B is not true? So most of you have got A, though statement A is definitely correct, right? There is no doubt about it. But answer is not option A, answer is option C. Why? Because Anuman is not like here it is given statement B as Anuman is not by observation. When, as I told you earlier, observation comes under Pratyaksh Praman. Observation that you can make through your 5 senses organ, right? When you observe something, they are observed through these 5 senses organ only, right? So your Anuman is not about observation. It is about inference. Observation is something which is direct, which is not something, right, is inferred. Like I made observation about people in the market, right? They, when I make this statement, this is direct or pratyaksh knowledge, pratyaksh upman, right? It is not inference. So a statement like second option is also true. Anuman is not observation. Anuman is inference. When you infer based on your prior knowledge, that is called your inference. The observation is not called inference. Observation is direct knowledge or pratyaksh upman. So hope you all understood, because you most of you got A as the answer, assuming that only statement A was true, because that is pretty simple. Anuman is knowing something not by means by sense organ, because this is the first statement about your pratyaksh knowledge. Because you, when you get knowledge through your sense organ, that is considered as pratyaksh knowledge. Absolutely fine. But observation also comes under this category only. Inference is not observation. So now you are, most of you are writing, you have understood it. Yeah, so let's move to next topic. So the next topic is your means of knowledge. Earlier we talked about source of knowledge, right? How knowledge could be gained through various sources or various upman, right? Now I would talk about means, like what books, what texts, what philosophy, right? Give us various knowledge. Especially we would talk in the context of Indian logic, because Indian logic is basically what transpired from the writing and all of during 5th BC to say 10,000 AD, right? Whatever written mostly in that period comes under your Indian philosophy or various kind of texts. So Indian philosophy comprises two kind of texts. One is your Gnostic test, and second one is Astic. Gnostic is something means majorly you can consider it coming from Vedas, right? We most of you must be knowing there are 4 Vedas and there are Upanishads and other stuff, right? Vedas are considered to be very important fulcrum to Indian philosophy, uh, because lots of like texts those were written in past, and even some of the religion, I mean, your Hindu religion was mostly inspired from Vedas. What happened during those time, what was written, what was thought, what was expressed, right? uh, they form Hindu philosophy. This is not organized religion. Why? Because there is not one guy who right brought this religion into existence. Lots of back and forth, like the things that happened in past, the text, right, writing, various stuff, they constitute your your Hindu philosophy, right? So I'll take first thing first, like Gnostic. You can understand as something who believes into something, right? There is something when something exists and you have faith in it, when you have trust in it, that is called Gnostic. Sorry, that is called Astic, right? When you have astha into something, when you have faith into something, right, that is called Astic. And usually all the religion are based on this concept only. It's mostly based on faith and belief. When you have faith in some person, some personality, or some book, right, that comes under your Astic. So there are 6 kind of philosophy. We would take them one by one later. Uh, Before coming to them, I'll throw some light on Gnostic as well. Like there was some people who did not believe into this kind of stuff, that knowledge came from a heavenly adobe, or people who could not be seen, or only from certain book, right? They, when they did not like, or when they saw it like creating lots of ritualistic mindset in the mind of people, right, they protested, or like came up with something else, right, where they asked there is no need to have faith into something blindly. There's no point to go down that lane. They said, they talked about certain other things, more human, more humanly, more like physical stuff. So those kind of guys, right, came up with some philosophies. Now here you could see there are 3 prominent ones. One is Charvaka, second one is Buddha, and third one is Jain. When you study in detail about these guys, you would understand they did not talk about any god or any particular scripture, right? They did not place their faith in such things. So now let's get back to Astic, because there are 6 philosophies we would discuss one by one. So here you could see a chart. In the chart about Astic, you could see schools based on independent growth. These are 4: Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisesika. There are 2 schools which are your Mimamsa and Vedanta. They directly derive their inspiration from Vedas. It's not that other 4 schools, those grew independently. They did not have faith in Vedas, right? But they also delved into some scientific, some more physical stuff apart from only talking about Vedas. But they did not discount Vedas. They took some inspiration, but they talked about other stuff as well. That is why they were considered to be independent from Vedas. They started from their own understanding of this world, and they talked about certain things, right? But at the same time, they did not say Veda was not relevant. Fine, people should not have faith or belief into it. Fine, they did not uh, talk such things. So let's talk about one of the philosophies out of the six. The first one is Nyaya philosophy. Hope you all are getting, uh, before I talk about Nyaya philosophy. If anyone has any doubt, right, you can uh, write about it. Means about Indian philosophy, right? We talked about two things: Nastik and Astik. Under Astik, there are six different philosophies. Under Nastik, there are three philosophies. Like we are going to take one them, especially like your Astik one by one, and then we would come back to Nastik one. So you are saying yes, you understood. Okay, that's great. So let's move to the first one. Nyaya philosophy. There was a guy Gautama who wrote a text, who wrote a book, right, that is known as Nyaya Sastra. So whatever you get to know about Nyaya philosophy, that comes from Nyaya Sastra, right? Whatever is written in this Sastra, right, gives us account of what Nyaya is and what it stands for, and all our knowledge is based on this book only, not based on any other source. So the first thing, Gautama was the guy who talked about right Nyaya philosophy, and he compiled what he thought, what he understood, right, in sutras, which is known as Nyaya sutras. And the second important and relevant point is this is scientific, rational, and logical in its approach. Fine. As I told you, some of the philosophies that grew independently, they talked about lots of stuff. Those were related to this physical world itself. It was not only about some scripture or some personality, right? So this philosophy took lots of inspiration from physical world. It noticed how they right function, and also like took things in rational way. Important thing that I'm going to discuss, and you need to remember, questions have been asked in exam based on this fact multiple times. Like what kind of a source of knowledge is considered to be valid under Nyaya philosophy? Now have a look at it. There are four pramanas, right, that are considered to be valid source of knowledge as per this philosophy. They are perception, right, that is your pratyaks; inference, that is your anuman; comparison, that is your upman; and the last, verbal, that is your sub, right? So these are the four source of knowledge or upman that are considered to be valid. If you like talk about this philosophy, right, they did not delve into your arthpatti and anuplabdhi, right? They did not delve into these things. They did not derive their source of knowledge, or they did not validate these two source of knowledge, your arthpatti and anuplabdhi. Hope it's clear to all of you that this philosophy took four source of knowledge as valid one. The next important thing, as we discussed earlier, this is part of your Astic philosophy. So Astic philosophy believed in God, right, or Brahman. I'll come to that later, right? So they believed into God. This philosophy, God created this world, sustained it, destroyed it as per his whims and fancies. Whatever he liked, he did with this world. Of course, we don't need to take it like as it is. It's just like part of this philosophy, what they understood, what they talked. Like we are discussing them. So as per them, world was somebody who controlled everything, right? But we don't know whether that's true or not, right? Different people have different understanding around this. So uh, uh, as we talked about, they believe in like four sources of knowledge, and perception is part of that, right? So definitely they were willing to go talk about five senses. So four important things that you need to remember about this. Who was the founder of this philosophy? Question has been asked and could be asked. That is Gautama, and what he wrote, what text he wrote, that is Nyaya's sutras, and what kind of approach he had, right? It was, this is the second important point. It was scientific, rational, right, logical. And the third important thing, what source of knowledge he took seriously, or he considered as valid, right? And the last thing is he believed in God, right? So that's all about Nyaya philosophy. If anyone has any problem, you can ask question. I would give you a few seconds to ask question.
So Prakash, how many such philosophies are there?
There are 6 philosophies.
How many we have done so far?
We have done one.
One. So maybe after two more, maybe we should do a
Uh,
flip this thing.
yeah,
Just check
yeah,
people's understanding,
exactly,
right?
exactly. That is what I was also thinking. Yeah, most of some of you are writing yes, you understood it. So see, as Asi said, these things are very theoretical. There is no mathematics, fine. There is no scientific understanding behind these things, or some puzzle sort of stuff, right? So these are theoretical, but if you try to understand them, they're not very difficult. There are few important points about them, right? If you can associate those points with this philosophy, job is done. Yeah, most of you are saying you understood it. So let's move to the next philosophy. Yeah, next one is Vaisesika. Again, the pattern would be similar. Now you have understood the approach, right? What these philosophy would talk about. First thing, who find propounded it through what texts, right? What they, whether the philosophy was scientific or ritualistic. And third thing, what upman they, what praman they considered as valid source of knowledge, right? These are the important things that would be recurring in all these philosophies. So this one was propounded by Kannada, right? He the significant texts relate to Vaisesika philosophies, Prasast Patta. Next important thing, again, this is a philosophy which was which is considered to be objective, realistic, very similar to what your earlier one was, right? It talked about few terms, metaphysics and ontology. In last class, we discussed what is metaphysics and what is ontology, right? So I don't think we need to discuss it. You just need to remember what is metaphysics and what is ontology. And question has been asked, right? Which of the following Indian philosophy talks about metaphysics, right? This kind of question can be asked. So just remember these two terms are related to Vaisesika philosophy. If anyone wants to know more about these two terms, fine, that they can ask. Otherwise, simply those who missed last class, they can simply like Google these terms and they would understand, right? So next important thing is like they considered reality as various test or considered reality in various forms, be it attributes, actions, substance, distinct quality, inference, right? They considered reality as a composite stuff. It's not made of just a few things. It's made of various stuff, right? So next one is, this is important element. You many of you can recall, like in lower classes, like especially in 7th 8th classes, you might have heard about 5 elements, right? This was the philosophy that talked about 5 elements: earth, water, air, fire, and space. So sometime when we claim that like Indians were, I mean, Indians were those who considered, who talked about 5 elements, right? Of which the entire world, or this earth at least, is made of, right? So this was the philosophy which talked about it. And this discussion happened way back in 3rd century, 3rd BC, right? So they tried to understood world through various fundamental elements. So in as per this philosophy, they considered earth, water, air, fire, space as 5 distinct elements out of which this entire universe was made. Why they considered space? Because what they could not like measure, they could not understand beyond earth, they considered everything as space, and the rest of the thing could be found on the earth itself. Water, air, fire, right? All these things could be measured on or witness, can be witnessed from earth itself. So whatever they could not witness, they put that put entire stuff under one category, that was space. Next thing, again, this philosophy is very important. It also talked about atomic concept. Atomic concept basically meant in their sense is world is made of small atoms, right? It could be divided into in so many parts, right? Each of those are indivisible part. Let's say I divide something in 100 parts, and after that I say fine, it can't be divided any further, right? That they consider those indivisible part as atom. So there, as per understanding of this philosophy, the world was made of small atoms, right? So this talked about atomic concept, and sometimes we say Indians gave atomic concept of atoms and all. Of course, not the way we understand in today's time. That's very detailed, right? It has altogether different meaning, but something is made of granular stuff, right? This is what predicted or at least talked about this philosophy. And they talked about Brahma, as I told you, in their understanding, Brahma like cosmic spirit, which managed entire cosmos, which was bigger than anything. Simply, that was considered as Brahman, not Brahman in like normal sense, the way we understand it in generic stuff, like somebody who conducts prayer and all, right? For them, Brahman was not something like that. Brahman something all encompassing, like most the thing which was above every damn thing on this in this universe, that control everything, that was considered as Brahman or universal spirit. And as per their understanding, this Brahman like gave consciousness to atoms, of which the world they considered was made of. Law of karma, again very important theory. As per this theory, like as you sow, so you reap, right? This is simply what law of karma says. Your actions would ensure what kind of results you are going to get. If your actions are not right one, you may not get good results. If your actions are good ones, right, you would get what you want, or would get uh, stuff which are considered to be good. So this philosophy talked about law of karma also. Again, we have, like as we talked in Nyaya philosophy, this also considered God as very important entity, guiding principle and force. And again, God created, destroyed like this world the way He wanted. Uh, this philosophy also considered this, and at the in the end, again this philosophy, right, considered four sources of knowledge as valid knowledge through perception, inference, comparison, and verbal testimony, right? The same was true for Nyaya philosophy. In Nyaya philosophy, they considered these source of knowledge or praman as valid source of knowledge. So all these are important aspects of this philosophy, right? Again, three four important things that we can remember: who propounded this, right? What kind of philosophy was this? Was it a mystical and ritualistic one, or objective, realistic, scientific one, right? We have answer of this, right? A few important things that they talked about: five elements, atomic like understanding of this world, law of karma, right? These are important aspects that you need to remember. Now, as Ashish talked about,
So Prakash,
yeah,
so one question. So for
yeah,
example, now, I know this is a new topic that they have introduced, right, in
yeah,
UGC NET logical reasoning section. So
yeah.
just wanted to understand, like, how much time do they really need to spend on all this? Yeah, because it's sort of, there's a lot of stuff, right? So in terms of, let's say, uh, these philosophies, do they need to just glance through, remember a couple of keywords? How much they need
Yes.
to remember? How much time should they spend on all this?
In my understanding, if they spend an hour or so on these six philosophy while revision, they are almost done. Even less, right? Once they study couple of philosophy, they would get hang of the entire framework of these philosophies. Fine, they won't find it that difficult. So yes, you are absolutely right. They just need to remember a few things. What philosophy considered what source of knowledge as valid, right? If some philosophy talked about very specific thing, like this one talked about atoms, law of karma, and they just need to remember these like important facts along with who propounded these theories. So in my understanding,
So yeah.
Yeah.
So Jaspreet is saying, do you need to read more about these things? I
No,
don't
no,
think so, right?
I
No,
don't.
no.
If you
Okay.
just go through this video once more, you don't need to refer any source. Like whatever is given in this video, that's good enough on these philosophies.
Correct. Because see, one of the reasons, guys, our approach, was then when we started these classes is that we wanted to go from uh, questions to theory, right? Instead of the other way around. And we started on a different note. But now, because you guys said that give some theory, and in certain topics which are new like these, it's important to give you some theory as well, right? So we understand that. But at the same time, I want you guys to be very clear, okay? At the end of the day, you should ask boss, what is the return on investment, right? I can't give like I mean, so for example, let's say somebody could be interested in all this and get into 5 hours reading this philosophy, but I'm saying that's a waste. Like, you have to be smart and say, hey, all that is fine, but what do I get after this, right? So if I watch this video, is this good enough? These are the key points I remember. I think I'm good to go, right? You cannot really afford to start and start reading from scratch and waste a lot of time and all. Probably one more time revision, looking at a few questions should be good enough. Main points is enough. This outline
Yeah,
is enough, Neetu.
is good
and
enough.
and Prakash has prepared these notes as well, right? And this is something that is available on our will be available on our learning portal, right? So as you may have already seen, teaching aptitude, RC, and some of these notes are already up there, right? So we have made those short notes, keeping in mind saying, hey, if you want to study, we don't want you to read like a 200-300 pager book, right? So the idea is that you read less, but that less should be able to take care of everything. So that's the idea. Prakash, with your permission, can
Yeah,
I do a small survey?
yeah, definitely. You
Okay.
go ahead.
So people must be like, okay, another survey. So guys, yeah, I just wanted to check that, I know that we have a lot of people on our WhatsApp group, but not everybody kind of comes, for the classes, like I was saying, right? So around 50 people who sort of come, and but not everybody is very regular. So what we thought is that, how about the others? And people said that there are a lot of people who are working professionals, so therefore this 7 o'clock kind of time doesn't work right for them. So that was one. So what I thought is, I thought I'll do a small survey today, on that, and just check from a timing perspective, saying that, like for example, if majority of this class feels that this is a good time, we will stick to this, right? If all of you are saying no sir, even I'm fine with anything, or 8 to 9:30 also works, so we could then give those other people an option, so that more people could be part of this class. Okay, so that's one. Second is, I wanted to just check with you if you have registered on our website yet. Right, have you gone through the free mock tests, or have you gone through the notes? And what should be our preferred platform for live classes? Do you like Zoom? Do you want to continue on this, or you want to go on YouTube live? So even though we stream it from Zoom, you don't have to worry about coming on Zoom, right? uh, uh, because we of course understand and we respect your privacy. So if you want, we will start monitoring the YouTube live chat. We will not give you this chat, but you can write on YouTube chat, and we could get your solve your queries there. All right, so folks, here's a small survey on your screen. Can you see the survey? I'm launching it now. I launched it. Can you see the survey? Please try to attempt it. There are 3 basic questions. Just attempt those questions so that we get your interest. Prakash, are you also getting the survey? Hello? Okay, great. So around 75% of folks have completed the survey, 81% now. Okay, few more are attempting. Is anybody yet to do? Because I know some people are yet to vote. Okay, we are at 90%. All right, so I'm ending the poll now. Okay, so now when we did the poll, guys, around 60% folks are saying that we are fine with 7 to 8:30 p.m. only. Okay, and we had kept this time in such a way so that it doesn't sort of interfere with your dinner. So that means we will continue with 7 to 8:30. 20% are saying we are fine with either. Some people are saying 9 to 10:30. Around 10%, and 10% people are saying 8 to 9:30. Okay, so I think we will have to go with the majority, right? So we will continue with 7 to 8:30 p.m. only. Okay, so that will remain as is. And also we provide live recording, and we feel that how serious are you, right? So I mean, something I know you have to let go, and we completely understand that sometimes we have priorities, you may have some other stuff. uh, However, keeping all that in mind, I think we'll go with majority. We will have to stick to 7 to 8:30 p.m. only, so we will continue as is. Second is, so I think 45% people are saying yes sir, we have gone through the notes on your website. And then remaining 33% are saying we have not yet registered on the website. And around 20 to 23% people are saying that we have attempted a test, also gone through the short notes. Okay, great. So I would request people to go through the our website, attempt the free mock tests, right? There are concept notes as well, which you can go through. And of course videos are tagged. Which is your preferred platform? So guys, on the preferred platform, 50% people are saying I'm fine with either one. 20% people are saying YouTube live, and around 33% people are saying Zoom. So that's fine. I think we will either. Okay, so we will see where we want to go. I think we'll take that call. Okay, great. So I will close this now. Great. Any other questions? Prakash, can you hear me clearly? Prakash, I can't hear you.
Ashish, am I audible now?
Yes, Prakash, you're audible.
Yeah. So,
okay, great.
Yeah, can we go for flipped class?
Yes, sure. So you ask them a question and let them respond. Yeah.
Yeah. So, who propounded your Nyaya philosophy?
So people are saying Gautam.
Yeah,
Everybody is saying Gautama. Yeah.
That's great. And how many source of knowledge they considered as valid? And name them also.
Some people are saying 4. Some people are saying 6. Most.
Yeah, wireless 6, where you saw that. Bhumika is also, I think we did not. I'm talking specifically about Nyaya philosophy, not about all the 6 valid source of knowledge, right? There are 6, there is no doubt about it. But how many are considered to be valid by Nyaya philosophy? This was the question.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
So
some of,
Kanchan and Renu have written.
yeah, that's really great.
Yeah. Perception, inference, comparison, and verbal testimony.
Yeah. Was that philosophy a scientific one or a ritualistic one? I think they are super learners. They remember everything.
Great. I think
Okay.
most are correctly
Yeah.
answering. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And Prakash, just before I hand it over, yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to share, guys. I had already created a separate group for paper 2, right? For people interested in HRM management and commerce, can move to that group if you've not moved already. And tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, 10 to 12, we have a class on HRM. Okay. Uh, so yeah, that's a common topic. So we will discuss some previous year HRM questions plus some theory. So I'll see folks there. Over to you, Prakash.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's move to the third kind of philosophy, that is your Sankhya. And again, the way the framework that we talked about for earlier philosophy, fine, we would continue in the similar fashion for this philosophy also. This was propounded by Kapila, right? Again, the text is given, what text he wrote. Uh, Sankhya Sutra, yeah, Samakhya Sutra. Remember, find this philosophy is named sometime as Sankhya, sometime as Samakhya, right? So don't get confused. Both are the same. And the next, I'll take some of the important aspects. This was the philosophy that considered this universe in two different aspects. One, nature, right? That is physical world that can be seen, touched, destroyed, created by us. And the second aspect, it was soul. That was considered, means they are named also here, Purush and Prakriti. So don't get confused when you say Purush, it doesn't mean that like male or female or human being, right? That is soul. So they considered this universe had a soul, and then the other part of this universe was Prakriti, which was nature, like all physical things that could be seen and observed by us, right? And they considered them as an independent entity. It was not like soul could merge with Prakriti, right? So their main idea was to get rid of Prakriti, or at least Prakriti does not only mean your physical stuff, even attachment, desire, right? All these things also considered as your nature, right? So their effort was to come up with some ideas so that people could get rid of Prakriti and get assimilated into your soul, right? So this philosophy also talked about liberation, right? In that sense, that the entire effort is to get into the soul of this universe rather than just being right physical entity. So these were important aspects of this philosophy. And again, the important question that we discuss for other philosophy, we would discuss for this one also. This philosophy considered only three sources of knowledge or praman as valid. These were perception, your pratyaksh, inference, your anuman, and verbal testimony, which was sub. Fine, they considered only these three as valid source of knowledge. And they also put emphasis on meditation, right, and such thing. So the important thing that you need to remember, right, who propounded this philosophy, Kapila, right? It was a dualistic philosophy. Why it was dualistic philosophy? It considered universe through two different entities, one soul and the second one as nature, right? And they were considered to be absolutely independent. They were not part of each other, right? uh, your Purusha, or something that was named as soul, right, was considered to be something which could not be changed, which was permanent, right, which existed as it was. not something that we could not see, that we could not measure or observe, but it existed in a static form, right? But your prakriti was like transformable, right? I desired something today, fine, tomorrow I could desire something else. So they considered prakriti, even we can understand pretty easily, like if some tree exists out there, we can like destroy that, right? So simply all those things which were considered under prakriti, they could be transformed, they could be changed, they could be destroyed, right? But the same could not be done with your purush or soul. That was non no, that could not be changed. So this was the third important aspect, right? And the last one, what all source of knowledge they considered as valid. So they considered only three source of knowledge as valid one, and this was the oldest one also. So sometimes question can be asked, which of the following philosophy is the oldest Indian philosophy or Hindu philosophy, right? So your answer would be Sankhya. This was the oldest one. So that's all about Sankhya. If anyone has any doubt, right, you can ask. Otherwise, we can move to the next philosophy.
Prakash, just a time check. 15 minutes more.
Yeah. So,
Suggestive. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So let's move to the next. I don't think there is like anything which we need to discuss again. We can watch this later and capture all these important facts. Now let's move to the next philosophy, yoga. See, through this philosophy, the yoga, the way it is done today, right? It came from this philosophy. This philosophy was propounded by Patanjali, and I believe uh, find be after this name, your Patanjali, right, was created. And next important thing, it considered a universe into two parts, human spirit and divine spirit. This philosophy was very much inspired by the previous philosophy that we discussed. This philosophy took its inspiration from Sankhya philosophy. That is why it talked about spirit and your human spirit and divine spirit. And the effort of this philosophy was again to emancipation of Purusa from Prakriti by self-awareness through discipline of body and mind. So it put lots of emphasis on our physical entity, body and mind, how we could control our body, what kind of action should be taken, especially through our body, maybe some exercise, maybe through concentration, so that, right, we can uh, uh, closer to emancipating ourselves or cleansing ourselves. So this philosophy put lots of emphasis on our physical aspect. And again, like as we talked, it's part of Astic philosophy. So they considered God as a very important entity, somebody who guided, somebody who was considered as teacher. And ast, uh, ast, Astanga Yoga, basically there are 8 kind of yogas, right? That are there, right? Based on those 8 kind of yogas, one can cleanse himself or herself and could get emancipation. This is what believed by this philosophy. So 8 kind of yoga, what you pranayam and other stuff that you hear all the time, fine, they are part of this Astanga Yoga, right? So you can look for them, these yogas, and I have compiled them also, so you can have a look at them. That's not very pertinent, means you can easily remember it the moment it is yoga, right? You can understand from where, means Astang Yoga or different type of yogas, right? They would be part of this philosophy only. And the last important point is again source of knowledge. Since this philosophy took inspiration from your Sankhya philosophy, so this philosophy also considered only 3 source of knowledge or praman as valid source of knowledge, and these are perception, inference, and verbal testimony. So just a few things that you need to remember: who propounded it, what was its main tenets. Like it considered universe as a union of 2 things, human spirit and divine spirit, right? It thought one human could get liberated through Astang Yoga, right? And it considered 3 praman as valid pramans. So that's fourth philosophy, and we are done with it. Let's move to the next one. That is not next, as I told you, right? These are the 8 ast yoga, what you saw on the previous slide, right? These are the different ast yoga, yama, self-control, like basically what you see on television or you hear here and there. They are, it's only 3-4 kind of stuff that we hear. These are your pranayam, breathing exercises, asana. Majorly these are the 2 that we hear a lot, right? We do it in our offices at some time, fine, on 21st of June, on yoga day. Like we only see a few things, your asana and pranayam, fixed posture and breathing, but there are 6 others also, as per this philosophy. So you can have a look at it. Now let's move to the next philosophy. As we discussed earlier, there were 2 philosophy that took their inspiration directly from Vedas. Fine, those 2 we are going to discuss. One is Mimamsa philosophy, Pur Mimamsa, because they means we would discuss in a while another philosophy that is also known as Vedanta, or it is known as Mimamsa, Uttar Mimamsa. Means just because they have lots of element in common. So just to differentiate their names, we have used Pur, something that is considered Pahle, right? Previously, or something come before something else. So that is why it is known as Pur Mimamsa philosophy, right? It was propounded by Gemini in 3rd century BC. Again, as we discussed, it took its inspiration from Vedas, right? It considered Veda as eternal, like all source of knowledge. It gave a very serious consideration to Vedas. And again, Vedas, like they considered dharmas as important aspect, right? Performing duties was very essential part of Vedas, and performing duties, not only normal duties, but your ritualistic duties also, they were considered to be very important back then. And this philosophy took it seriously. So they said knowledge and diligence means fulfillment of duties prescribed by Vedas. So it was very static understanding of world for them, right? There is a text, right? Veda, from which entire humanity needs to take inspiration. Whatever obligation and duties are mentioned into Veda, like if you followed, right, according to them, it was good, right? So that was their understanding of this. And this philosophy, right, tried to encompass Nyaya and Vaisesika in its element, but it was more of a ritualistic stuff, right? Again this was the philosophy that considered all 6 source of knowledge as a valid source of knowledge or praman, right? So a few important things. It was propounded by Gemini. Second important element, Vedas was its fulcrum, right? So accordingly it put emphasis on dharma, duties, right, and rituals, because uh, usually your scriptures are mostly about these things, your duties, right, dharmas, rituals, right? So the moment we know that it was inspired, or the fulcrum of this was Veda, right, we can easily associate all these attributes of this philosophy with this name. And lastly, it considered all 6 as a valid source of knowledge. So as I discussed here, this
So
is also,
Prakash,
yeah,
just a time check.
yeah.
So Prakash, is this the 5th one or the last one?
This one is the last one.
Okay, cool. So after this, maybe a quick revision and then maybe look at 1-2 questions, right?
Yeah. In fact, what we can do, we can have a questions, and then I'll recap
Okay.
before
Okay, cool.
closing the class, right? So Vedanta, as I discussed, find this, and this is also known as Uttar Mimamsa because it took lots of inspiration from Mimamsa philosophy. The guy who like is considered to be propounder of this philosophy is Sankaracharya, and he is considered to be very important character in Hindu philosophy as a whole, and in religion also. So he was the propounder. He like wrote commentaries on your Upanishads, which is considered to be like last part of your Vedas. Vedas are not only like one entity or there are lots of other aspects and scriptures which are part of it. Fine, that is not important here. So he wrote commentaries on these things, and question has been asked, which of the following texts Shankaracharya wrote commentaries. So remember these: Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, and Bhagavad Gitas. And next important thing, again, as I talked about, it took lots of inspiration from concluding part of Upanishads. It was monistic school that considered universe was one, right? And it was unreal, and only one entity like govern this entire universe. That is considered to be Brahma. As I discussed earlier, Brahma was considered to be at the top, who looked after everything. And then like there is one more important thing, that there are three sub branches of this philosophy: Advaita Sankaracharya, Visista Advaita Ramanuzacharya, and lastly is uh, Dvaita of Madhavacharya. So you need to remember these names because questions can be asked on these names. So along with other stuff like who propounded, what commentaries on what subjects or topics Sankaracharya wrote commentaries, what are the three branches, we need to remember very, very clearly. And also this term monistic, if question is asked which of the following philosophy or school is considered to be monastic, right, you need to remember this. And this was also your philosophy which considered all six as valid source of knowledge, all six praman as valid source of knowledge, right? So that's all about your all six philosophies. Now just like going through them once, maybe in 10-15 minutes you can recap entire stuff. So let's take a few questions because we are running short of time. We have just a few more minutes. So there are a few things that we would not be able to cover in this class. These are Gnostic philosophies, your Charvaka, Buddhism, Jainism. So let's take a few questions. Yeah, which of the following philosophies talked about metaphysics? Yeah, try to answer this. It really seems people have pretty sharp memory. Great, guys. In fact, all of you have got the right answer. It's Vaisesika. Like this question appeared in 2019 in your UGC NET exam. So I don't think I need to explain it because it's pretty factual, and it was your Vaisesika that talked about metaphysics. Let's take another question. Yeah. Who among the following wrote Vaisesika Sutra? So you must be thinking all these questions are very theoretical in nature. Definitely they are going to be theoretical because it's theoretical portion. There is no mathematics or there is no problem solving that is involved here. At the same time, right, it is quite convenient also while answering these questions. If you know facts, you can answer them within a few seconds, right? So most of you have again got right answer. The answer is Kannada, right? Kannada wrote Vaisesika Sutra, and he was the propounder of this theory. Yeah. So, can you answer this question? Though we did not cover this part, but if any one of you remember, try to answer this question. Which philosophy talked about materialistic aspect? No. As I told you, we haven't covered it, so you have to think through. Yeah, RC has got the right answer. It's D, like none of these. The six philosophies that we talked about, they were Aztec philosophies, right? They did not talk about materialistic stuff. They were more concerned about getting liberation and getting knowledge about this world and various other things. They did not consider your materialistic stuff as a very important thing. It was Charvakka, right, who who is who was propounder of this materialistic philosophy. As per this guy, right, you did not need to give any consideration to liberation, social aspect, right? He did not take any of these seriously. He recommended do what you feel like doing, what gives you pleasure, nothing else. Of course, you don't kill other person if you find pleasure in that, but do whatever you love doing without harming others' interests. Like there should not be any moral and ethical compulsion about not doing certain things. So, like if you look at today's world, the way we function, I think this philosophy has lots of resemblance with our kind of life, right? The way we live in today's time. We do tons of materialistic stuff, right? We use phone, we watch movies without getting into moral question, whether it's right, whether it is the right thing to do, spending so much time without considering whether that time would help us getting liberation or mukti, moksha, what else, right? We don't give much consideration to these stuff. So this guy did not believe in God. He talked about materialistic stuff. Basically, the idea was whatever gave you pleasure, right? You could do that without any social or your moral compulsion or consideration. This philosophy considered only perception or pratyaks as valid source of knowledge, right? They said all other sources were leap in darkness, right? They could not give us right answer, right knowledge. Of course, that is not true. But as per them, what you could see, what you could sense, right? Then that was the only that was the only valid source of knowledge. So in a way, we have covered Charvakka also. Your Buddhism and Jainism are not pretty important from this exam standpoint, but right, if you want, we can cover them in next like next time when I catch up with you people, right, in a brief, but they're not pretty important. So let's move to the so that's all we have for this class. Assis, do you want to stretch it for a few more minutes so that if they want, we can cover your Buddhism and Jainism also?
I think we are good, but
Yeah.
what do you guys feel? What everybody feels? I think we could close it,
Yeah.
but let's check with everybody. Yeah.
Himadri is saying go ahead.
Two
Somebody is
people are
saying no.
saying only.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah,
Jaspreet is saying no. I think Prakash, let's stick to the time.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Because anyways, it's very theoretical, no?
Re-
So what happens is that, how much of they will retain also. And, something that I would request everybody to do is that, guys, every time you're learning, you have to be smart. You have to always think return on investment. Your purpose is not to read up this philosophy and enjoy, this reading. It's about cracking the UGC NET exam. So be very, very clear about that. Be very sure about your strengths. So if your strengths are on practical subjects, DI, maths, and all of these things, and you don't think that you should spend like 4-5 hours here, I think that's absolutely fine. All you have to decide is that, hey, I have to just get 40 plus marks in this paper one, and I will anyways be in the higher end of 99 percentiles, which is good enough, right? So that means 10 questions you will not do also, still you are able to get there. But you aim at a 45, then you land at a 40. If you aim at a 40, you land up at a 35, right? So be very careful with how you spend your time. So but yes, I think we will close it here, Prakash. Thank you so much for covering all of these theories and philosophies, and the Indian logic. I know this is a new aspect and a lot of people are confused, a lot of material is not available, or people have not explained it properly. So but thank you so much for taking the effort and putting this together. Thanks guys for joining. We will see
Tha-
you guys on Tuesday. And for folks who are from management, HRM, and commerce, I'll see you guys tomorrow in a morning class.
yeah. Bye, guys. Good night. Take
Bye. Good
care.
night. Bye bye, everyone.